Ajmal. Ajmal, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I haven't spoken to you for years.
No, your famous appearances on the big questions. It's good to. I want to get into what Shasta said there is truly shocking, and Altaf as well. We're trying to find out what is happening on our streets. What are people saying to you at Southgate Mosque about their experiences? Has it got worse recently, as it has for Jewish people?
I'm gobsmacked. I'm shocked. Not only shocked, I don't know what to say after what I've heard from Shasta. I don't think there's much more to say in illustrating the experiences of daily Muslim experience in our country as well as Europe. And this is getting worse by the day. Nicky, those days when we used to debate on your big question program about various manifestations of this hatred, we didn't think it would get worse, but it's got worse. Now it's become not only fashionable, it's systemic. It's being promoted by politicians, from prime minister to ordinary MPs, from cabinet ministers to local councillors. It's become fashionable. Many TV programs, many commentators, media spokespersons and individuals are speaking openly. It's like an open season on Muslims and Islam. And worse,
Give me
it's
some
not being
examples.
challenged. So
Or
many.
is Leanne
For
the
example,
obviously, but give me some
I'll
examples.
give you an example. Day before yesterday, I was invited to a TV program when we were talking about Islamophobia, and the presenter said, "Isn't it the fault of the Muslim woman for wearing niqab?" So he's actually blaming the victim. It's like saying a lady is walking around with miniskirts and therefore she gets attacked and she deserves it. There is open season and nobody challenged him. Even the TV station, I complained, didn't do anything. They didn't even call me back. And
Didn't
this
see
is
it.
happening left,
No.
right,
Well,
left, right, and center. And I don't want to name the TV station, but it is so sad when I open up the newspapers, when I hear the politicians speak. And it's not this Lee Anderson character that has done this. Not long ago, Boris Johnson said horrible things about Muslims. We had Zach Goldsmith calling, what's his name, Mr. Khan,
well, that was a
our
discredited campaign. You're referring to the Boris Johnson article, Muslim women dressing as letterboxes. The overarching
and
article was
it
arguing
pains me.
for freedom of dress, ironically, and from a liberal angle. But that particular phrase has been dressed up. But part of the nuances, there are lots of practicing Muslims who are dead set against the wearing of the niqab, for example, and people don't appreciate all the nuance and complexities of all this. And it's like with Jewish people, lumping them all together as one.
And it's like the liberal people, nudist to those who are dressed. It's life, it's the way people are, and that's their choice. We don't need to bring those conversations when there is an attack on a community, singled out because of their faith and their culture. It's deep-seated racism and hatred.
Communities.
Sorry?
Communities. You see, the problem is if you said a community, there are so many different Muslim communities of so many different beliefs. And maybe unwittingly there, you almost played into the kind of we are all one.
I'm not. I'm saying it specifically because the word Muslim unifies us all, but by diversity within Muslims obviously becomes communities. But we're talking about attack on the Muslim community as one monolith because the attack is on the group. And that group is called Muslim. I agree that there is diversity, there is differences of opinion and practices. It doesn't matter. The attack is on the Muslim community, and that's wrong. And you, especially with your wonderful voice and robust response that you give, we must find more journalists standing on the same side and saying, no, we're not going to tolerate this. It's not fashionable. Remember what Baroness Warsi once said. She said it's become dinner table banter. It's what people talk about in their pubs. It is so disgusting. I thought racism was disgusting when I was experiencing it when I was younger.
And Baroness Farsi, of course,
now,
on one occasion defended the Islamic Human Rights Commission, pro-Iran, when, and this was a group that had given their Islamophobe of the Year award to Charlie Hebdo, and at their award ceremony said, "Oh, what a shame, they're not here to pick up their award." And so you've got to be very careful about not demeaning the term. There is Islamophobia, there is anti-Muslim hatred, but you've got to be very careful about, as she has been accused in the past, spreading it about too thinly. And no doubt there is dinner table, as she called it, Islamophobia. But what do we do? How do we root it out?
It doesn't take it away from our experiences. When I'm walking down the street, I'm scoffed at. When I'm getting on the train, I'm looked at. If I'm a woman, I'm being my hijab is pulled down, if I'm a kid in the school, I'm being called things by young kids.
Have you been scoffed at?
Many times. I've even been called on a live TV program, radio programs, on the street, because people know who I am. They see me on television. My bike, as I was cycling along the main road, one guy jumped in the middle of the road, tried to pull me down. And there is only one reason, because he recognized me as a Muslim and his intention was to harm me. Nicky, it is not acceptable that we Muslims are feeling as though we are now second-class citizens. We've become enemy within. And some newspapers, some media pundits, and some politicians are celebrating it and enabling this mantra to go unchallenged. And we need to stop that now. We need to stand together and say no more. Muslims and Islam.
But what about the Islamists who, with their standing outside the schools in Birmingham, and also this poor school teacher who's having to hide because of death threats in Batley? What about what we hear about Labour MPs saying, and also Conservative MPs saying that they are being targeted by Islamic extremists? Henry Zeffman told us that. The Conservatives are saying it outwardly. He said many Labour people are saying it as well. What's your message to the Islamic extremists? Do you believe that they are giving Islam a bad name?
Nicky, I don't want to fall out with you. We're good friends, but you've just done the same thing as you've accused me of doing. The word Islamist, Islamic, all of these are absolutely loaded terminologies.
Okay, let's say extremists then. Are the extremists giving Islam a bad name?
And extremists from the right and extremists from the left.
Yeah, I would ask about extremists from the right if I were doing a phone-in about the right. I'm talking about the people who are targeting MPs.
I understand. The problem I'm having is that the attack is on the Muslim community. There are extremists within the Muslim communities. And I've lived with 2 death threats because of my vociferous opposition to any extremism. Of course, we're all together. No religion would tolerate extremism. Quranic verses there clearly saying extremism is condemned. What we are asking for is for people to understand that even if people have unsavory views, we don't have the right to go and lambast them, attack them, or create such an environment where people are feeling as though they should not exist. That's not acceptable.
Okay,
we have to embrace the realities of our world.
We have to go to the news. But I had death threats from the far right when I finished the Big Questions program once, and I'll see you next week, inshallah. I went off and I was on articles. I was leading the Islamification of the media in this country. I went off. I had three death threats on Twitter within 3 minutes of walking from the studio. Okay, we will, which says a lot about some people. We will come back to this. We're talking about experiences of anti-Muslim hatred. It's and I know Shaista wants to come back. I'll come to you in a few moments. It's 9:37.
Listen on